Marissa, and I am a volunteer baby wearing educator with BWI of Central Iowa. This video is going to show 3 methods for getting your baby on your back in a soft structured carrier, also known as an SSC or a buckle carrier. Generally, your baby should be sitting unassisted before you attempt a back carry. And also, we recommend that you're comfortable with the carrier that you're using in a front or hip carry. And also, that baby fits without any kind of modification to the carrier, with their head above the back panel and their knees able to bend easily. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using a toddler Tula with my 2-year-old daughter. And we're going to start out for the first 2 methods with the carrier on. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to loosen your webbing. And different brands vary a little bit, but basically most of them have this safety elastic that would prevent the carrier from coming undone if it comes unfastened. You're going to buckle and then you're going to tighten. You want the carrier to be flush against you, either at waist or hip level. It kind of depends how tall you are and how tall your child is. But basically, as a general rule, soft structure carrier back carries are going to be a little bit lower than what you would see with a woven wrap or a Medai. The next thing I'm going to do is loosen my shoulder straps, because that makes it a lot easier to pull the panel up high enough on baby's back. And then for this method, I'm going to start with the carrier centered on my back and hanging down like an apron. We're going to do the Superman method of putting baby on your back first. Okay, and I do recommend, if you've never done a back carry before, that you practice with a spotter or over a soft surface like a bed. So for the Superman method, the first thing you're going to do is face your baby away from you. I'm going to be putting baby over my right shoulder. If I can catch her. Superman. Okay, stand up, Boo-Boo. Or if she won't stand up, you can sit her down. You're going to start with your right hand facing down and your left hand facing up, because she's going to go over my right shoulder. Make sure you're grabbing right under the armpits. You should not be grabbing the arms at all. That could cause an injury, so you don't want to be lifting from here. You should be lifting from here. And you're very gently going to lift your baby up and over your right shoulder. And so I'm holding on her arms at this point. Now I'm going to switch to putting my hand on her bottom and bouncing her down. You should always have a hand on your child when you're putting them into a back carry. So I want her bottom right at the panel here. The first thing I'm going to do is lift one shoulder strap. Bless you, bless you. And then I'm going to lift it in the middle to make sure my panel's getting nice and high, and then my other shoulder strap. And before I stand up, I want to lift on this to make sure that all the excess fabric is coming out from under her bottom and that the panel is high enough. You also want to tighten each of your shoulder straps, and then make sure that this panel is nice and high on her back before you stand up. And then when you stand up, you can kind of lift your shoulder straps and bounce her into the seat. And the last thing you're going to do is buckle your shoulder strap, or your chest clip there. So that's the first method. Now to get your baby down, you're going to do the exact reverse of what I just did. So you're going to unbuckle your chest clip. You're going to bend down and loosen your shoulder straps. Now as you're taking the panel off, you're going to put your hand on your baby. You're going to take off one shoulder strap, then the middle, then the other shoulder strap, and let it hang. And you're going to grab your baby and scoop them around down your hip. So the second method, we're going to start with the carrier how it is, the exact same way, in the center of our back, laying down like an apron. We're going to loosen our shoulder straps pretty far. Okay, baby. This is the hip scoop method. You can start on either hip that feels more comfortable for you. I naturally carry kind of on my right hip. Okay, so I'm holding her with my right arm just like you would if you were carrying her around on your hip. What you're going to do then is reach with your left arm, your opposite arm from the hip that baby's on, and reach your right arm around so they're both on the same side of her body, and you're gonna bounce. Usually 2 bounces to get her right where you need her to be on the bottom of the panel. And the hip scoot usually helps her end up where she needs to be. It's usually a little bit lower. So the next thing you're going to do is put each shoulder strap on just like you did before. So first one, then the middle, then the right, and then you're gonna lift to make sure that all that excess fabric gets out from under her bottom. Tighten so she's flush against you before you stand up. Make sure that that panel is up at least to her armpit level before you stand. You're gonna bounce and clip. So that's method 2. These are all methods that I like to teach at meetings and that we do ourselves at home. The hip scoot method tends to be a little bit less intimidating for the first time or two that you're going to try. So it tends to be the one that a lot of people prefer, especially with a soft structure carrier, because baby's going to end up kind of right in the middle where you need them to be. So I'm going to take her down like I showed you before. We're going to do our third method, which is also a hip scoot method, but with the carrier on. Okay, so you're also, for this one, going to start with your waistband a little bit loosened so that it's easy to twist your carrier. Okay. So you're going to start with your baby on your hip, just like the other hip scoot method. And you're going to start with your shoulder straps loosened, just like we did before. So everything is pretty much the same, except the carrier is going to be on your baby. So we're going to get her settled in this, centered with the panel all the way up, as high as it will go. So I'm just hanging on to the panel here is all. And remember, my waist belt is a little bit loose. Don't have it way too loose, just a little bit so you can slide the carrier. So just like before, I've got my arms over the panel and over my baby. I'm going to hang on to her with my opposite arm, my left arm. I'm going to bring my right arm around so that I can bounce her. Now I'm hanging on to her. She's resting on my right arm. I'm going to use my left hand to grab my waist belt and about 2 bounces to get her on my back. Now all you have to do at this point is pull up each shoulder strap. She thinks this method is fun. Okay, so now I'm going to pull up the shoulder straps, making sure that there's panels plenty high and there's none underneath of her bottom. Tighten up your shoulder straps as usual. You're going to tighten up your waistband as well this time because you loosened it a little bit to slide the carrier around. Once she's secure, stand up, give it your usual little bounce and clip. Make sure she's good and centered. And that's it. Thanks for joining us. Bye.